I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray with me. Father, we're here tonight to do the business of the Board of Education for the Ponca City Public Schools. Please be with these members as they make decisions affecting our children and staff. Thank you for the much-needed rain that we got for our state and that got our state out of a severe drought. With the extreme heat we are experiencing, please be with those who do not have the means to cool off and help them find assistance in keeping cooler. We also ask that you ask those men and women of the armed forces who serve and protect us and defend us will stay safe. We appreciate them and the service they have for our country. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Roll call, please.
Mr. Clark?
Present.
Dr. Kincaid?
Here.
Mr. Newsom?
Here.
Mr. Riley?
Here.
Mrs. Troop? Present.
All right. First item is the public comments, but I have no notification of anyone wanting to speak to the public, so we will, to us from the public, so we will move on to the superintendent's report.
Just a reminder, this is our first meeting with live mics at each station, and so if you don't want what you say to be heard, you have to put it down. Otherwise, it's live all the time. So that might be something you might want to keep in mind. So push it down.
Hold it.
And hold it to cut off conversation. If you don't have your finger on the button, we're going to all hear what you're saying. Okay. Just a quick update on ESEA. I had the opportunity to be in Washington, D.C. last week for the ASA Advocacy Conference. And it just so happened that the reauthorization of ESEA, which most of us know as Title I, but it's really all the federal programs that affect education, which have not been reauthorized since 2008, which is why we still live under No Child Left Behind and waivers that the State Department has to get, was actually on the floor of each house and was debated on in each house in Congress. We were on Capitol Hill on Wednesday, had a chance to visit the Oklahoma delegation, and they actually voted on the House version of ESEA last Wednesday, and it passed with unanimous support by the Oklahoma delegation. The Senate is still in debate. They're debating tonight. They will debate the rest of this week. The hope is that they will have a bill that they will vote on by the end of this week, maybe the first of next week. And once that happens, assuming that it passes the Senate, then that will be the first time since 2001 that we've had a bill out of both houses of Congress. The bill will then go to conference, and if we can get a version out of conference through both houses, then it'll go to the president. This is really in the time I've been involved, and I've been working on ESEA reauthorization since 2004. This is the most hopeful I've been. The kind of scary thing about this, if it doesn't happen this year, then you're probably looking at 2017, 2018 before it even comes up again. You'll have new leadership on at least the House Education Committee. They have a rule in the House now where committee chairmen can only serve a certain number of terms, and so you'll have a new committee chair for the House Committee, which probably means that you're going to start the process all over again. If you have a change in Congress, if something were to happen, the Democrats were to take control of the Senate or the House, then you probably start over again in whichever chamber has the majority. So it's hard for me to fathom that we could be 10 years out on reauthorization or even more. There seems to be, it was different this time. There seems to be a sense of urgency to get this done, and there seems to be a commitment to try to get something done that both houses of Congress can pass and the president will sign. Obviously, because there's two pieces of legislation, there are differences in those legislation, and so here's what's similar. Both versions require the states to adopt standards in math, language arts, and science. The difference is the Senate bill uses the term "you must establish challenging academic standards." Both bills call for annual testing in grades 3 through 8 in math and language arts. And then in high school, you have to test for math and language arts one time. And then in science, you have to test one time per grade span. And the grade spans are 3, 5, 6, 9, 10, 12. Both versions eliminate AYP, they eliminate AMO, they eliminate performance targets. Both bills require data disaggregation by subgroups, so you have to break your data down by ethnic group, you have to break it down by free and reduced lunch, you have to break it down by English language learners. Both student achievement requirements reports include graduation rates. They do it different. They have different ways in which they do it. The Senate bill allows you to add an additional year. You have to do cohorts, but they'll give you a 5-year cohort in the Senate bill, where it's still a 4-year cohort in the House bill. Both bills eliminate prescriptive approaches to school improvement, leave it to the states to determine who will be identified, what schools will be identified in need of improvement, and then what improvement will be. So if you think about you got to fire the principal or fire all the teachers or adopt this reading program, both bills eliminate that. The House bill eliminates caps for special education. Remember, in special ed, we have caps in that you can only have a certain percentage of your students who take alternative assessments, and their scores count. You can give all the alternative assessments you want, but if you exceed 2%, every student who takes those above the 2%, even if they pass the test, they're recorded as limited knowledge, which obviously pulls down your proficiency numbers. The House bill has Title I portability and voucher language. The House bill eliminates 70 federal education programs. The Senate bill, in addition to including graduation rates, they also want a measure of college and career readiness included in their report. There's no Title I portability and no language to support vouchers. And the Senate version consolidates programs, but does not, which obviously leads to some elimination, but not as many as the Senate does. The major sticking points that I think are out there will be how assessment will be used. Congress wants to leave it to the states. And right now, the administration and civil rights group want consequences for what we call today failing schools. They want consequences for those schools designed by the federal government, not by the state government. Kind of the mantra from the civil rights community last week, and actually got to ride on the elevator with Al Sharpton. But their mantra is that we can't trust the states to do the right things for minority kids, that they will cover poor performance, and if the federal government doesn't step in and hold them accountable, minority students will get further behind. There also something that's kind of came up last week that kind of surprised people was a senator out of North Carolina rewrote legislation on how we allocate Title I funds. Right now, the formula is about 20 years old, and it favors states with large urban areas, New York City, Los Angeles, Miami, Philadelphia. This new legislation would actually shift the quotas, and this is part of the stuff about Title I that people understand. Actually, there are actually quotas that each state has. So what's happened is in some places, states have really grown, and other places, especially in the east, they've lost population. So in the cases of places like New York and Pennsylvania, they're getting dollars for kids that don't exist anymore. Whereas states like North Carolina, Texas, Florida, California are not getting funding that represents the number of students that they have. The change would also help states with rural areas, because when they redid this years ago, they shifted, the way they did the formula, they shifted money to higher urban concentrations of poverty. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, some members of Congress like that, some members don't. I don't think any change will be made, because I think they really want a bill done and they don't want anything to kill it. And then the other issue that kind of popped up last week is the issue of student privacy, and lots of concern in Congress about protecting student privacy. But the issue is, how do you protect student privacy? And some really, really restrictive bills that would make it almost impossible for us to do things like accelerated reader and accelerated math, programs that take student information, they take data, they put that data together, and they use that data to formulate questions and to determine reading proficiency rates and those kinds of things. So, I mean, there's obviously some landmines left, but I'll be pretty surprised if we don't get a bill through the Senate. Obviously, conference committees are a different deal, but the rules change a little bit in conference, and once those conference bills are worked out, it's kind of like it is in the Oklahoma legislature. It goes back to the floor for just a very quick vote, yes or no. And generally, there's no debate allowed. And so generally, once you get things through conference, you're in pretty good shape. And then the big hurdle after that will be the president. So anyway, that's my report on ESEA. I know we've talked about it for a long time, and you know, it is a big deal. I mean, it is how we operate schools in this country. And it's something that Congress definitely is way past taking care of. So I'm hopeful. Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4, the consent calendar. Need a motion required for the approval of the consent calendar.
So move.
Second.
Thank you, Don. Judy, call for the vote.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop? Aye. Mr. Clark?
Aye. Thank you. 5.1, consideration of vote to approve the following district financial reports. We have A through Q listed, number of reports.
I'll make a motion to approve. We had a good meeting the other day on the finances, everything looking good so far this year, getting ready for school to start.
Yeah, we talked about those a lot in the Finance Committee. I don't remember, Brenda, did we talk about the School Advantage Purchasing Card Program? I mean, A through O, we went over with fine-tooth comb. Don and I kind of quizzed them pretty hard. I don't remember anything about the School Advantage Purchasing P and Q.
Yeah, that, Robin, is something we've done for several years. It's called the P program. It's a purchasing cooperative through the State School Board Association.
That's our P cards that we use for, it's not credit cards, it's purchasing cards that some of the administrators have, so we can book reservations for rooms and do different things that that's how we pay our utilities. And there's a little bit of a percentage that we get back for what we purchase on that.
So you're just asking for a continuation of the
That's
same?
just a continue, it's not anything new.
It used to be Bankers credit card. but
Got you.
now it's Bank.
We have a motion.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Don,
Second?
Robin, call for the vote.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop? Aye. Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
5.2, consideration of and vote to approve appointing Christy Quinn as clerk of the board. Any discussion?
I'll move to approve 5-2.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop? Aye. Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid? Mr. Newsom?
Thank you.
Aye.
5.3, the administration of the oath of office for Christy Quinn. Mr. Bracken.
Got to get close, this close. How about like this?
And you gotta get a whole lot closer.
I think they want you to stand up, Christie. Repeat after me. Oh, raise your right hand. I, Christy Gwynn,
I, Christy Gwen,
hereby declare under oath that I will faithfully perform,
do hereby
Declare-
declare under oath that I will
faithfully perform,
faithfully perform
the duties of the Board Clerk of Ponca City Public Schools,
the duties of the Board Clerk of the Ponca City Schools
Public Schools, I guess, I forgot that, to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
all of the duties pertaining to said office
all of the duties pertaining to said office
and obey the Constitution and laws of the United States and of Oklahoma.
and obey the Constitution and the laws of the United States and Oklahoma.
You're sworn in. This is so much different than the other place.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 5.4, board is to take action on the employment of Stephen H. McDonald and Associates, Inc. as financial consultant to the school district. Any discussion?
No, I'll just move for approval.
Move approval?
I'll second.
Second?
Mrs. Troop?
Yep.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Thank you very much. 5.5, board to consider to take action on separate resolutions authorizing the calling and holding of a special election to be held in this school district to authorize the issuance of general obligation bonds. And our Stephen H. McDonald representative is here.
Hopefully you can hear me. I'm Ron Fisher with Stephen H. McDonald and Associates. We appreciate being employed once again. We've been your financial advisor for, I don't know how many years now, but it's been a lot. We've always appreciated the,
At least, this is my 12th year. You've been financial advisor 11.
nope, works for us. We appreciate it, and we appreciate being able to work with you guys. Hopefully, everyone received copies of the two resolutions we're going to adopt tonight. But I'm going to go over sections of each one just to make sure we're clear on the election date, the amount, and so forth. The first one I'll go over is the building resolution. Therefore, it be resolved by the Board of Education of Independent School District Number 71 of Kay County, Oklahoma, that a special election is hereby called in said school district to be held on the 13th day of October, 2015, for the purpose of submitting to the registered qualified electors of such school district the following proposition. Shall Independent School District Number 71 of Kay County, Oklahoma, incur an indebtedness by issuing its bonds in the sum of $37,225,000 to be issued in series to provide funds for the purpose of constructing, equipping, repairing, and remodeling school buildings, acquiring school furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and acquiring and improving school sites, and levy and collect an annual tax, in addition to all other taxes, upon all the taxable property in such district sufficient to pay the interest on such bonds as it falls due, and also to constitute a sinking fund for the payment of the principal thereof when due, said bonds to bear interest not to exceed the rate of 10% per annum, payable semi-annually, and to become due serially within 5 years from their date. This is the language that will actually appear on the ballot when people go to the polls. There's another section of the resolution, which was the Section 4, and it included about 2 pages of project language. That language will appear with the ballot on the election proclamation, which is published in your newspaper. So that's where the people will be able to read and see what all the money is actually going to be spent on. The type of financing we're doing right now, the project language does not have to follow the logical construction progress. So you can buy the walls before you own the floor. The key is that before you make an acquisition payment, that portion of the facility has to exist. You can't pay for the walls if the walls aren't up yet. So we worked with the architect, with administration, to kind of go through the list to make sure that things that we're going to pay for in a certain year are going to exist by that point. Really, the second series is probably the only one where it's ever a concern, because by the time you get about 3 years out, most projects are already completed. And, you know, if the project's already done, then obviously all components are going to be available to acquire. Did anybody have a question about the way the project language was set up?
Yeah, Ron, you mentioned 5 years in that first part. I never saw
That
a copy
applies
of it.
to each individual bond issue. So even though we've got 6 series of bonds, each series will come due within 5 years from its date.
But it doesn't have to be the full 5.
No, but right now, we've got all 6 series are set at 5 years. Like the one we're going to issue in May of 16, it'll be on the tax rolls from 16 to 21.
So assuming we go general obligation, the 6 series would be due 11 years from now? Would come due?
Right, would pay off. It would be issued 6 years from May of 2016, and then pay off within 5 years from when it was actually issued.
But something else is getting paid off.
And it's my understanding that if we decide to go lease revenue, has nothing to do with the way these first ones are published, voted on, the whole bit.
No.
That's a whole separate issue.
Right. The way it's set up right now, this is just a general obligation bond. Again, the way the project language is written is geared toward the revenue bond financing.
Right.
But right now, we're looking at GO bonds. You know, once the election passes, then you can make the decision to pursue the revenue bonds at that time.
And the project language, this would be with the ballot, you said?
No, the project language will be with the election proclamation, which is published in your
Paper,
newspaper.
But not with the ballot. The ballot's
Right.
just the first part you read.
Right. That one, like, extremely long sentence that's
Right.
like, you know.
Yeah, right.
And if there aren't any other questions on that resolution, it's just a motion and second.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion? Second?
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Okay. Now, the next resolution is going to be a little simpler because this is the transportation equipment resolution, and it's a lot more limited into what the funds can be used for, and it's a single series. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of Independent School District Number 71 of Kay County, Oklahoma, that a special election is hereby called in said school district to be held on the 13th day of October, 2015, for the purpose of submitting to the registered qualified electors of such school district the following proposition. Shall Independent School District Number 71 of Kay County, Oklahoma, incur an indebtedness by issuing its bonds in the sum of $1 million to provide funds for the purpose of purchasing transportation equipment and levy and collect an annual tax, in addition to all other taxes, upon all the taxable property in such district sufficient to pay the interest on such bonds as it falls due, and also to constitute a sinking fund for the payment of the principal thereof when due, said bonds to bear interest not to exceed the rate of 10% per annum, payable semi-annually, and to become due serially within 5 years from their date. And again, that's the language that will be on the ballot. The additional language that will be in the election proclamation is just to acquire vehicles for pupil transportation. So like I said, it's a lot simpler than the building proposition.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Quick question. If we decide to go lease revenue on the construction, we can leave this one as general obligation, no big deal.
Yeah, they're both general obligation regardless
At
of
this
the
point.
Right.
But you don't,
Even if you go revenue bond, or.
You don't have
this
to
is
with this
still general obligation.
right,
Yeah.
which is the way it would be. I
These
think
will
we'd want it.
always be, whether or not you go revenue bond or not, these components will always be GO bonds.
Any other questions? Call for the vote.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop? Aye. Mr. Clark?
Aye.
And then now's the tough part of getting signatures. There's going to be multiple copies of each one.
Item 5.6, consideration and vote to approve science and mathematics course for students credit taken at Pioneer Technologies. I
This
have
is
one
a-
question on this one.
Yes.
College algebra with a question mark? They can get college credit for taking class at Pioneer Tech?
That gives them high school credit for that,
Okay.
okay? We don't give college credit. All we can prove is high school credit. So, and there are, and really, these are credits that are embedded in the courses that the students are taking, okay? It's something we've done, for the last 15 years as a way to allow students to continue to go to school at the Career Tech. When they changed the math and science requirements, if we didn't do this, then most of our students wouldn't be able to go to the, some of it is, for instance, there's a biomedical program out there that is very science and math integrated. Some of this would be credit they get through maybe welding or there's a little nursing course out there that kids take. But, so what they've done is they've gone through all their coursework. They've identified concepts that they teach in science and math. They've had that, they've taken it to the State Department. The State Department has blessed it. And then they have to, but for them to be able to do that, to offer that for our students, then we have to approve it each year.
Any other questions or discussion? Call for the motion.
I'll make a motion. 5-6.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Robin. Call for the vote.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye. Thank you very much. 5.7, consideration of vote to approve adopting a school hours policy.
This is something we've done for the last 4 years, and it's kind of a precaution. If something were to happen and we were to have a severe winter, some kind of disaster that required us to close school for more than the days that we have built into our calendar, we could use this deregulation so that students would not have to make up additional school days.
Any other questions? Call for the vote.
How about a motion?
Motion. Call for the
Make a
motion.
motion to approve 5.7.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Judy.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Thank you. Consideration of the vote to approve application for deregulation to change the standard of library media services for 2 elementary schools.
We started this process last year that when we had elementary librarian vacancies, that we would employ assistants who would be there full-time, as opposed to what we do now, which is we have share librarians between schools. So that you have a librarian maybe who's in a building Monday, Wednesday, and half a day Friday, in the other building Tuesday, Thursday, and half a day Friday. So this way, they have a library, somebody there every day responsible for the library, can check out books, can do things for kids. We then have an elementary librarian who supervises that, who does selection of books, who if the teachers need something special, they can come over and work with them and help them do that. Kind of the big picture here would be that at some time in the future, we would probably have 2 full-time elementary librarians, one who would serve, and we'd divide our elementary schools between those 2 people with assistants in those rooms, in those buildings the rest of the time. 2 reasons for that. One reason is and the primary reason is just staff. It's like every other teaching position that we have. Library media specialists are hard to find. And if we were to have somebody who had library media certification, who was a classroom teacher, we would probably want to keep them in the classroom just because, again, classroom teachers are so hard to find. So,
Will the certified librarian, will she have a school of her own?
Right now, they do.
It's Lincoln,
Lincoln,
Hollingsworth.
yeah, Lincoln is the home school for we have a certified librarian at Lincoln, okay?
She's the supervisor.
And
she's the
she'll be the
supervisor.
supervisor of these assistants?
What
Okay.
about the other grade schools? We have assistants each one of them?
They have certified librarians that they split.
Right.
currently.
So we're doing this as vacancies open,
Yeah.
okay?
Motion approved.
Have a second?
I second it.
David, thank you. Call for the vote.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Thank you. 5.9, consideration of vote to approve the following bid and change orders. We have A through D.
I have a
think there's
question on A.
Excuse me?
I have a question on A. As many times as we've talked back and forth, restrooms, concession stands, et cetera, what did you do, Brett, to cut 43,000 out?
Well, there were a variety of things that we actually did. Changing some materials, changing some of the sequencing of it that brought those things in. We also, if you remember right, we cut out the concessions part of it, so that included a few things. The big ticket item was the electrical service. That made the big difference in that 43,000.
Did we still put the panel in that will allow us to do the press box, et cetera, down the road if we needed to?
It'll have to be upgraded when we do that, but this will suffice at this point.
But we're not going to be
Won't need
throwing
it.
any money away on this one,
No,
because we talked about that before.
correct.
Okay.
And let me clarify the projects. Item A is a change order number 1 for the Sullins restroom project. It's a change order for a credit of $43,617. Item B is a change order number 1 for the Anderson Building HVAC replacement, Phase 2. It's a combination of a small credit and an additional cost of $21,308 for a net change order of $18,628. Item C is approval of change order number 6 for the Woodlands remodel and addition. It's a variety of items some are required by the state fire marshal as well as the state elevator inspector for code compliance. Credit back to the district, and the total change order is for $3,212.66. And item D is approval of accepting the subcontract bids for the Trout Elementary remodel and addition. Total bids came in at $1,476,891.86. There were 4 rebids to be considered later. They're expected, the anticipated guaranteed maximum price is about $2,579,365.86. So those are the details on the 4 change orders.
I need another clarification on A. You're saying is you downsized the box? The breaker box, you downsized it?
It's not downsized. It was a really fancy box that was going to be smaller, so it allowed us to put it in a smaller space. It wasn't really necessary, and we got to get rid of a transformer at the same time, so we just got a more simpler unit with a transformer. The other one was just very, very expensive. That would allow us to do everything now for the press box later on.
Yeah, but once we do something on the other thing, we're going to have to tear that one out and put a new one in, aren't we?
No, we'll still use it. We have to add a little bit to it, but we're still using this. It won't go away.
Okay. I've never seen them add it unless it's got a lot of space in that breaker box.
Well, no, it's still sized fine. It's still sized fine. The wire, we made sure that the wire size will able to actually get bigger later on, but not the box.
Oh,
And then we
okay.
put another panel up there.
Oh, okay.
We wanted to make sure when we made this change that the wire size could be changed out easy enough to accommodate that extra power. That was really the only big deal.
So you're saying you're going to put a breaker up there?
There'll be another panel up there.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve. A through D, 5.9.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Thank you. 510, consideration of and vote to approve following contracts, agreements for the 2015-2016 school year. Renewal of agreement with Tamara Wink, physical therapist to provide physical therapy services. This is a continuation. Renewal of agreement with the City of Ponca City for school resource officers, one police officer at the high school and one that splits his time between east and west. Renewal agreement with United Community Action Program, Head Start to provide early childhood services with Ponca City schools at a cost of $2,200 per student. D, renewal of Data Management Time, Inc., Time Clock Plus System Support Contract for the district time clocks. E, agreement with ACT Aspire for college career readiness systems for grades 8, 9, and 10 for school year 2015-2016. F, agreement with Worth Avenue Group LLC for insurance for student laptops in the Ponca City Public School District. G, renewable agreement with Northwest Evaluation Association for software license. H, agreement with Atomic Services, Inc. for fire alarm system at 111 West Grand for Wildcat Academy and central registration. I, renewal of agreement with Lexi Learning Systems, Inc. for a one-year implementation support package and Lexia Core 5 licenses. Any discussions? Questions?
Yes, I have a question on A for Shelley. I know we talked about this a lot in the subcommittee. Is that a job that we have posted? I mean, that's a lot of money to pay an outside consultant year after year.
No, we have not posted that position before. That's always been a contract person, and they're not school certified, so.
Could we make a job? I mean,
We probably.
that's a couple teachers' salary.
It is. The
for that one.
problem is, we have troubles for somebody going to work for us for that salary, so.
But couldn't we make salary whatever we think's appropriate for the function?
You know, Robin, my guess is going to be, we've done this ever since I've been here, and we did it that way before because we couldn't attract a physical therapist to work with the kind of, to do what a physical therapist does for us. And that's pretty common once you get outside the metropolitan areas of the state.
And that's probably true, but I don't think it would hurt to post it.
No,
Try to
it
get
wouldn't
one.
hurt to post it.
We
could do that
You
in the
might get
future.
lucky.
You might.
That's just, that's $68,000, and it may be more, depending on how many hours they put in. It's quite a bit for a specialty item like that.
We have a
But those are
motion.
services we're required by the IEP to provide. I mean, this is not an issue that we have a choice
Right.
to provide.
Motion to approve A through
Thank
I.
you, Don.
Second.
Thank you, David. Call for the vote.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Thank you very much. 511, consideration of vote to approve proposed executive session. Do we have executive session material?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Proposed executive session for the following purposes: to discuss the possible termination, reassignment, resignation, and employment of personnel, to discuss confidential conversations with the board's attorney, to discuss the purchase or appraisal of real property, and to discuss negotiations. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So move.
So, Don, second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Judy. Call for the vote.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye. Thank you. We don't have to have it, never mind. Vote to approve or recommendations for termination, reassignment, resignation, salary adjustments, and employment of personnel. Do I have a motion?
Is this where he's going to make
No, this is, we have to do
That's
this,
new
then
the
that's
existing one
next.
first? I move to approve it. I second it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Call for the vote.
Mr. Newsom.
Aye.
Mr. Riley.
Aye.
Mrs. Troop.
Aye.
Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid.
Thank you very much. And new business.
I have one item in new business, and that is to approve the employment of 5 classroom teachers who we made offers to after the agenda was posted, and who we'd like to get approved so that we can get them under contract so they don't go to anybody else. Allison Appleman, who will be a 5th grade teacher at Garfield. Casey Kendrick, PE teacher at Lincoln. Connie Greeley, 8th grade reading teacher at East. Chelsea Hogan, 5th grade teacher at Roosevelt. And Scott Sweetwood, geography teacher at West.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Oh,
Commissioner moved and approved. Seconded. Call for the vote.
Don made the motion.
And who was second?
Robin.
Robert. Sorry about that. Mr. Riley.
Aye.
Mrs. Troop. Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid. Mr. Newsom.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, Judy makes the motion. Don seemed to be agreeing with her.
Second.
Okay, second. Call for the vote.
Mr. Riley.
Aye.
Mrs. Troop.
Aye.
Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid.
Aye.
Mr. Newsom.
Aye. We're going.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.